everybody, it is Calxiyn here. We're for the next 5 weeks leading up to RWBY Volume 5, we're going to be doing RWBY Top 5. So speaking of 5s, you should become a $5 Patreon so you can support the channel and get videos an entire week early.
Oh, she's a professional. Oh, she keeps going.
And if you like RWBY, you should join our Discord chat server. So today, Hunter and I are going to be going over my list for the top 5 White Fang members that I would like to see in Volume 5. But basically how this works, if you didn't see our last video, is I'm going to read out a list and Hunter is going to tell me what is stupid. That is basically what is happening.
Because she doesn't tell me about these things, so I may make my own list.
I was going to have you make your own list. That was kind of my plan, but I thought, you know, maybe we could do that for the last 5 weeks of Volume 5. How many episodes are there in, like, you know what I mean?
Probably 14?
Yeah, we could do that. But I just didn't want to burden you, so I thought it would be better for me to do it by myself. So, at number 5, I have a fish faunist. So I know this one may seem complicated, but I want to see how this would work. In The Sims, basically, I'm using that as my example. In The Sims, like, fish people, like, basically need to go in salt water or even bath water. I think salt water is 24 hours, but water has a shorter time limit to make sure that they don't pass away or else they'll get all dry and, like, die and stuff. Like, it's complicated.
Because of gills and whatnot.
Yeah. And so it would be interesting to see a fish faunus sort of be, like, I don't want to say in the bottom of the barrel in terms of faunus, but there is definitely probably a faunus hierarchy. You know, like,
people who
cat
can pass
over
for
fish.
Human.
No, that's not what I mean. I just mean, like, with not human and, like, not passable and not passable, but think about it. Blake likes tuna, and there are fish faunus. You know, like,
that's fucked up.
You know what I mean? Like,
I wonder if there's, like,
saying.
a cow faunus, and then you see, I wonder if the cow faunus would be vegetarians.
That's what I'm kind of getting at, is that, like, unless you're half fish, your trait would probably be a hindrance to you.
So, like, I watched Zootopia, and this whole time I was watching Zootopia, I was like, this is bullshit. It just ripped off this really bad RWBY fanfiction called Blood Rose.
I don't think it
ripped off yes, it totally did, because the whole carnivore versus herbivore thing, whole thing, ripped it off. Disney, I'm fucking onto you. I
also think that it could shine a light on Atlas, because if you think about it, Atlas could create something to constantly hydrate these faunus, and they could have it be, like, super expensive. Like, remember a while ago when that guy, like, hiked up the price of the EpiPen?
Martin
and then
Shkreli?
another,
no,
like...
You're thinking of Martin Shkreli.
Yeah, and then another, like, I thought it was, like, HIV medication or something,
that one's
and, like,
Martin Shkreli.
hiked up the price, like, super high, even though it's something that people need to literally not die. And so I could see Atlas doing that. I could see Atlas definitely
I can see you
that.
being acting completely immorally.
And so, in my head, Atlas kind of controlling things that way, that is why, like, fish faunus would be part of the White Fang. Because they probably suffer the most injustice.
What do we
they're
want?
at the bottom of the barrel.
What do we want? Fish balls. What do we want it?
Anyway,
no.
For number 4, I have a turtle faunus. And I think that this would be super cool. Because they have a strong piece of armor on their chest and on their back. Like, turtles have that thing that connects their shell on their chest or whatever. It's not as strong as, like the big shell on their back, but it'd still be, like, it'd be good armor, and it'd be strong enough. It'd be cool. I also think that since so far we've only seen faunus who either have, like, a defensive, or, sorry, an offensive or neutral trait rather than a defensive one, and what I mean by that is Tyrion, let's say, he's an offensive faunus because he can sting people and poison them, right? Yeah. That's something that is offensive. Meanwhile, Blake and Sun don't really do, like, their things don't do anything.
There was Turkson who had the claws.
Yeah, that is also one of the offensive ones. But Blake and Sons are just neutral, right? They don't help them in combat necessarily, but they don't hinder them either.
Sun just uses his for general recreation, it appears.
And so, it would be interesting to see a turtle faunus, because that would be the first faunus that really uses something as a defense, rather than as being offensive or just being useless. Sort of like Ilya's color changing is a little useless. Or Blake's ears, even if you really want to get into that. Sun's tail, like, they're all pretty useless things that you can't really use them for very much. But Tyrion, you know, that's what I mean by faunus hierarchy, is he's probably one of the good ones, because he has something that can actually hurt people. At number 3, I have a bird faunus, and so within the White Fang, similar to the others on this list that I'll get to later, having bird wings would be very hard to hide, and it would be interesting to see if bird faunus are actually treated with a higher sort of respect. And so we know in the RWBY universe there was religion, but now mostly it's just fairy tales. And in other religions, and it's not just Christianity either, like, people with wings seem to be pretty popular, you know, if you think of angels and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting if people thought that people kind of had an idea of angels and thought that the bird Faunus were kind of messengers of light. And as religion died out, that idea kind of went away, and bird Faunus kind of were in the same category as, like, regular Faunus. But I'm sure there are still some religious people in Remnant that are kind of, like, you know, that haven't, that sort of that transition period of people being religious and then people kind of forgetting about religion, like, hasn't hit them. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure not every place in Remnant is super industrialized, let's say, or affected by that.
Presumably there's, like, a Mississippi of Remnant.
Well, Mississippi's pretty big, so, like, still. Like, I'm thinking more of a, like, small town in Nunavut of Remnant. And so it'd be interesting to see if they were important in Remnant's history and if people thought they were kind of messengers of the gods instead of just, like, scary. And so I feel like that it would be interesting to see the gripe with bird Faunus, because people could be like, well, you got it so easy, like, everybody thinks that you're, like, cool. Not cool, but everybody thinks that you're, like, important or something, and
I'm not a horse Faunus, as we explored in last episode.
And that could be interesting to see within the White Fang too, because just like there are people that look human and do not look human, there could also be Faunus that are valued because they have X trait over Y trait. There could be Faunus that are valued because they are say, like, gorilla Faunus and have massive strength, and so that's very valuable to companies and stuff, so they get hired more, for example. And there could also be Faunus, like the bird Faunus, which are revered in a religious aspect, and so they don't suffer as much discrimination, for example. And so I feel bad for the bird Faunus, though, that gets the bird beak and not the wings.
He just looks stupid, poor guy.
But anyways,
I feel bad for the duck Faunus. So he just
continue.
looks like a human platypus.
So another member of the White Fang I would like to see is actually not a Faunus at all, but rather a human. So this may seem like an odd choice, but I would actually like to see a human that agrees with the White Fang.
Yeah, fuck me, guys. Am I right?
No.
There'd be
so
like a
here,
white
guy. Let me get to it. So they
like
could just want to watch
Party.
like the world burn or hate humanity and think that Faunus are superior because they have these sort of survival skills that humans don't. And so again, if you think of Tyrion in a sense is superior to a lot of humans because he has an extra weapon just attached to his body for survival, right? And so I think that having sort of an anarchy human with the White Fang could be super interesting, and I'd love to see how they are accepted by, say, Sienna, who would probably, in my mind, would be more willing to have anybody as long as they help her cause, whereas Adam is like, nah, fuck humans, man. But then again, Adam did work with Cinder, but that was more out of fear because he knew Cinder could kick his ass, right? Cinder pretty much killed a lot of his men when she went to their camp, and so I don't think he was taking any chances. And so we did have Torchwick, but we know that, like, Roman didn't actually like or care for the Faunus, but he was just using them, so it would be an interesting character to make in contrast. And something else that I kind of thought of while I was talking about this that wasn't sort of in my thoughts before is it would be interesting if somebody was faking being a Faunus to get into the White Fang. You know what I mean? Because it would be interesting if they could somehow fake having certain traits with
these horns aren't real.
You know what I mean? Like, they could fake having sort of traits because they really want to get into the White Fang because maybe they think the White Fang are cool, or they like what they stand for, or they agree that humanity sucks and they'd rather be a Faunus sort of thing. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that could be really interesting to see someone that hates humanity and maybe really deep inside feels like the Faunus have been wronged, and so he should fight over his own people, or she, that they could fight their own people because they believe that the Faunus are in the right and have sort of an extremist view like that. And so I think that would be pretty interesting to have a human that's either sort of disguised as a Faunus or just a part of the White Fang. And so this is a weird tangent. But in Spider Riders, which was an old kids cartoon, I remember that they had a Invected. Those were kind of the bad guys. They were humanoid bug people, and so the Invected girl lived amongst the village because they had kind of chosen peace and everything, and everyone was okay with that except the main character, and the main character was like,
What
fuck
the
off!
fuck?
Like, we're supposed to be fighting them, they're all evil, and then they realize, like, no, they're not all evil, like, she agrees that there shouldn't be any more, and then she gets kidnapped, and the main character learns a lesson, like, something like that, right? And so I can see kind of the same happening, except instead of, like, being peaceful and saying, I want everyone to live in peace. That's why I'm with humans, because the infecteds are doing most of the trouble. Instead, it's like, nah, man, fuck the humans. I'm gonna be a violent, like, person.
I'm not
you know what I mean?
gonna be violent. I'm going to be a
violent. So yeah. So at number 1, I have, I think, which is my best one so far. That's why it's the number 1 if you guys don't know how top 5.
This is the second time you've explained to us how a top 5 list works.
So at number 5, I have the Naga, which these are like snake people that are within Hindu mythology. But the first time I saw this was actually on the Aladdin TV show, because Jasmine tried to get this potion to make herself like look prettier, I guess, because the saleswoman like said that Aladdin wouldn't love her anymore or something because she had wrinkles or something, but Jasmine didn't have any wrinkles. Like, it was all sort of an in her head thing, and she started turning into a snake. And so she just woke up one day with a snake tail, and then it progressively kind of got worse, and then she became this full snake person, and Aladdin got poisoned by her because he touched her. And apparently she's just all poisonous on the outside of her skin, and so he made himself a snake person too, so they could live together and fall in love and shit.
Well, that's fucking bizarre.
It was a great episode. I have to show you it. I have it, actually. It's actually a pretty good storytelling, not gonna lie. So I think that this could be interesting because since, like, you know, Jasmine's actually poison, it would be interesting to have kind of a snake Faunus that if they touched their tail, poison would sort of seep out of it, and it would cause people sick upon touching. So it would be kind of like Tyrion's poison, but instead of actually stinging someone, they would just have to touch you.
Like a venomous frog.
Yeah, like a venomous frog, exactly.
Or poisonous.
And this would be super hard to hide, right, if they have an entire snake tail. So it would make sense that they would be with the White Fang, right? Because I'm sure that they'd have some gripe with, you know, with humanity and stuff like that. Because at least the fish Faunus, you can pretty much hide you're a fish Faunus even if your traits suck. But with something like bird wings, which is why I said I would get to another Faunus that would have hard to hide traits later, because this was the other one that I was talking about, they would definitely sort of have a gripe with society because they cannot hide themselves whatsoever, and the snake people would kind of look like monsters, right? Like, you see someone with a giant tail for, like, their lower half. Like,
I would
what
be
would
a little
you do?
freaked out. I believe that's a boss in Dark Souls.
And so, what do you think, Hunter? What do you think of my list? Do you think some of these are dumb, or do you like any of them?
The first 3, right, you mentioned, there was the fish Faunus. Instead of the turtle Faunus, there was the fish Faunus, and then there was the bird Faunus.
Oh. What happened to the turtle Faunus?
The turtle I hadn't seen in fanfiction, but the bird, the fish, I've seen those in fanfiction as well. Mm-hmm. As for human, that's sort of bizarre. That's like a, like, I don't know, like a...
It'd be so cool.
Like a Jewish person in, like, a neo-Nazi league. It would be a little bizarre.
I guess, but I was thinking more like, I don't know, like, maybe someone who is straight, like, being with the gay terrorist organization. I'm gay, so I feel okay using that one as an example.
Gay terrorist
You know what I mean?
Where the fuck would gay terrorist organizations bomb?
I don't know. I was using that as a comfortable example because I don't want people being like, you can't say that because you're straight. I'd be like, ha ha ha, no I'm not. You know what I mean? I was just using that because I feel comfortable saying that because I know that
I'm still thinking about what the gay... God, ISIS would be fucking great if in their, like, execution videos they broke out into song and dance. Like if it was Glee.
Oh my god.
This is getting dark. Anyways.
Anyway, you understand what I mean, right?
It's fun to stay at the Y. Yes, I'm seeing what you...
It would be a human that believes very hard with the Faunus.
You said members of the White Fang, and then you kind of just went to different Faunus. I thought it was going to be like
these are
Sienna Khan.
No. These are
Chainsaw Guy.
I meant this video was titled Faunus in the White Fang, right? And so what I am thinking of, Faunus said I would like to see a part of the White Fang. That's what I mean. And so that would have, Faunus that would be against Blake and have a White Fang affiliation that she would have to fight these people. Like, I know that I didn't tell that to you, but that's what the video title is gonna imply. So
yes.
it explains itself, don't worry. But yeah, do you think that I should have switched anything out? Do you think some of these are dumb? Like, give me your honest opinion. Other than the human, which you already said, anything else? Because I know you said...
Turtle, I don't know how Turtle would look, necessarily.
Would just be, like
a
Bowser,
really
but, like,
bulky
human.
one.
Like, you know what I mean?
Bowser, is that you? Like, oh, I got cut. Like...
But you know what I mean, right? It would basically be like Bowser, but humanoid. That's how their shell would look and stuff. You know?
Alright,
Can
sure.
you dig it?
Sure.
Alright, so do you agree?
I agree. I like the snake one.
Do you have any better ideas? For White Fang members that could be...
Chipmunk. And all
that wasn't a better idea, that was just an idea.
All the difference, like, they can pass as human, but... Right? They just have very chubby cheeks and feel a lot of food. So it's just like, hey man, that's Jerry. Jerry's a human. Wait a minute. That's a whole, like, watermelon in there. Jerry is a chipmunk faunus, or...
Thanks for your contribution, Hunter.
Well,
anyway, if you guys enjoyed my
faunus.
list, I actually thought about that, but that was too fishy for me, and so I figured... No, that wasn't what I meant. I literally meant that it was too fish-like.
He would look like Davy Jones from the Pirate of the Caribbean.
I was kind of thinking about that, not gonna lie. But anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this list, remember that if you did enjoy my video, you should become a $5 Patreon to get the video a week earlier. Just become a Patreon in general. There are tiers lower than $5. Or you should join our RWBY Discord server. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and peace out. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.